Dan Stec.
I was waiting for him to raise the mic. I wasn't finishing the mouthful. Wow, good luck with this. This is high. All right, good evening, everyone. Clinton County, Jericho. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me to be here with you all tonight. Tremendous turnout. And as always, wonderful group of people you've got here. I can't wait to hear the other speakers talk. Tom, good to see you again, sir. So you're going to hear from our Congresswoman, and she's certainly going to talk to you about the state of things in Washington, D.C. But one issue that's very important to both the state and federal levels is certainly what's going on our northern border. We had a wonderful and very informative event earlier this afternoon with a bunch of people up here at Churubusco. And I had to tell you, your local law enforcement has been fantastic. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a press conference in Canton, because Sheriff Rick Engel has been in the news lately, locally, talking about the green light law. 2019, the state of New York passed a law that did two things, and both of them are bad. One, authorized giving driver's licenses to illegal immigrants. When the cops pull them over and run that license through their system, there's no way for them to tell if that person's here legally or illegally. Why is that concerning? Because that document can be used to register to vote, and they are using it to register to vote. So that's the first concern. But the other one, and very relevant here, is that it forbids local and state law enforcement from communicating and coordinating with ICE and Border Patrol. So up on the border, and we've had a lot of local stories here, you don't need to hear me recount them, but the school bus episode where 9 illegals accosted the school bus the first couple of days of school here earlier last month, and scared the hell out of a bunch of elementary school kids. That's one of them. The trail cams that people have got on their properties, and we're seeing dozens of people in the middle of the night walking through. People are afraid to use their own properties, but state law prohibits local law enforcement and the state police from communicating with ICE and Border Patrol. It makes their job more difficult, and frankly, it's dangerous to those officers. And I liken it to a large structure fire. We have multiple fire companies showing up, and state law would prohibit them from using the same radio frequency. To me, it's no different than that. It's that asinine, and yet that's state law. The other thing that the state, so I have a bill that I carried with Assemblyman Scott Gray. And actually, this came from a conversation I had a couple years ago with your sheriff, Sheriff Pablo. Let's exempt, I just should exempt, get rid of the entire green light law, but we wrote a bill that would say we're going to exempt the border counties from having to participate. So that would give your local sheriffs the opportunity to work with, and they all loved it. We had a press conference, all 4 of the northern sheriffs from Jefferson all the way to Clinton County were there. So a bipartisan group of local law enforcement elected by the people, they were there. So your message is being heard, and I know you're frustrated, and I'm frustrated too. You know, as a parent, I remember the first day of school when my kid was a little guy, and I can only imagine what it was like for that mom to watch her little kids crying in the back seat because they were afraid to get out, to get on the school bus, which is already intimidating for little kids. You know, the first day of school, it's a stressful day for mom, it's a stressful day for the kids, and on top of that, you've got grown adults banging on the doors of the school bus because they want to ride into town. Absolutely crazy. So you've got people at both the state and federal government level that are trying to do the thing. When you're outnumbered, when you have one party rule in New York State, when you've got an executive in the White House that denies that he can fix these things with the stroke of the pen because he undid things that were done with the stroke of the pen with his own pen. And you want to just use it as a political issue. And in the meantime, you've got people here, and then on top of it, to add insult to injury, we, New York State taxpayers, spent $2.4 billion of your tax money to New York City this year for illegal immigrants. Now, for a couple $100 million, we could have fixed all the nursing home problems, the Medicaid reimbursement problems, why our nursing homes are closing. We could fix roads, we could fix bridges, we could have internet and broadband and cellular service, but we're sending $2.4 billion down the river so that they can house illegal immigrants in hotel rooms and give them free EBT cards and give them gift cards with $1,000 a month. So as these immigrants are walking out of that hotel, stepping over homeless veterans to get in and out of that taxpayer-funded 3-star hotel in New York City that they're staying in. This is the priority of the Democrats in Albany and the Democrats in Washington D.C. It's very frustrating. I will continue to fight. I know that Congresswoman Lisa Stefanik has been fighting this and will continue to fight. But there's a lot of absolutely insane stuff going on in Albany and Washington. The most important thing you can do is make sure that you get out and vote in November. The last thing you want to make a blood for, and I saw this fantastic chair, that you've got a brochure on every chair, but this Proposition 1. So the proposition is anytime you want to change the state's constitution, the legislature has to vote 2 years in a row to authorize that to go to the voters. So we've done that. I voted against it twice. All right, but this Proposition 1, the Democrats will have you believe that this is a protect Roe versus Wade. And they would say this is an equal rights amendment. And that's what the media and the newspapers are going to say. It's equal rights and it's women's right to choose. That language does not appear in that amendment at all. If you read the amendment, what it does is it adds protected classes to the list of things you can't discriminate against. And among them are two that I want to highlight: country of origin and age. So it would be, according to New York State's Constitution, you couldn't discriminate based on country of origin. What does that mean? That means that they are setting the ground that they want to give illegals the right to vote in New York. Am I making that up? Am I imagining that? No. Why? Because New York City tried to give illegals the right to vote, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court and got shot down. Washington, D.C. did give illegals the right to vote. So the Democrats are already playing this. This is their playbook. So this is their way of, if we can put it in the Constitution, then we can give the illegals the right to vote. The age issue, that's where you're stripping parental rights. Right now, if you've got a kid in school, and that kid's got a headache, he goes to the school nurse, and the nurse wants to give him an aspirin, that nurse has to call you to get your permission to give the kid an aspirin. But if that minor child says, I want to undergo gender transition, and I want to do the therapy, and I want to start that process, the law would prohibit that school from telling the parents. Am I making this up? No, there's all kinds of legislation in Albany right now that would do that. There's all kinds of assaults on the rights of parents, and what this constitutional amendment, by saying age is protected, what they're doing is they're setting the stage so that they take parents' rights away from them and prohibit healthcare providers in schools. It would force Catholic hospitals to give abortions against their desires, imposing an agenda on people and taking their right to choose away. So Proposition 1 has got all kinds of problems. It's on your seats. But I think if you're offended or concerned by it, you need to tell your friends and neighbors they should vote no. I'll be voting no. But again, we're trying to highlight it because right now, in this political climate, everyone's concentrating on the presidential election, as is understandable. But this proposition could fundamentally change New York State's Constitution and the laws that will be passed in the future. So I want to highlight that for you and pay attention. This is a Trojan horse. It seriously is. So I hope I rambled enough. I see that the lady in red is getting up to give me the hook. Thanks again for everything.